Francis Wayne Sinatra Jr. was born on the 10th of January 1944 and passed away on the 16th of March 2016. He was professionally known as Frank Sinatra Jr. and was an American singer, songwriter and conductor. He was the son of singer and actor Frank Sinatra and his first wife, Nancy Barbato Sinatra. He was also the younger brother of singer and actress Nancy Sinatra and the older brother of television producer Tina Sinatra. On the 8th of December 1963, a group of amateur criminals hoping to strike it rich engineered one of the most infamous kidnappings in American history. For several weeks, two 23-year-old former high school classmates from Los Angeles, Barry Keenan and Joe Amsler, had been following Sinatra Jr. from city to city, waiting to make their move. Their plan was bold but simple: snatch the young Sinatra and demand a hefty ransom from his wealthy father. Francis Wayne Sinatra was born on the 10th of January 1944 in Jersey City, New Jersey, into the household of one of the most popular singers in the world, Frank Sinatra. The younger Sinatra was technically not a junior, as his father's middle name was Albert, but was nonetheless known as Frank Jr. throughout his life. The younger Sinatra hardly saw his father, who was constantly on the road either performing or working on films. Sinatra Jr. recalled wanting to become a pianist and songwriter from his earliest days. By his early teens, Sinatra Jr. performed at local clubs. At age 19, he became the vocalist for Sam Donahue's band. He also spent considerable time with Duke Ellington learning the music business. Sinatra spent most of his early career on the road. By 1968, he had performed in 47 states and 30 countries. He had appeared as a guest on several television shows, including 2 episodes of the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour with his sister Nancy, hosted a 10-week summer replacement series for The Dean Martin Show, had sung with his own band in Las Vegas casinos, and had been the opening act for bigger names at other casinos. During that time, he gained a reputation for rigorous rehearsals and demanding high standards for his musicians. Sinatra appeared in the Sammy Davis Jr. drama A Man Called Adam in 1966. He also played a deputy district attorney named Gino Bardi on the television crime drama Adam 12 in 3 episodes, the last of which was titled Clinic on 18th Street, originally broadcast on the 13th of March 1974. This episode was an edited television pilot for a Mark VII limited series that was not sold. His other acting credits included roles in Codename Zebra, 1987, opposite James Mitchum, and Hollywood Homicide, 2003, with Harrison Ford and Josh Hartnett. Starring in 1998 at his father's request, Sinatra placed his career on hold in order to act as his father's musical director and conductor. Poet-vocalist Rod McEwen said, "As a senior, Sinatra outlived one by all of his conductors and nearly every arranger, and began to grow frail himself. His son knew he needed someone that he trusted near him. Frank Jr. was also savvy enough to know that performing was everything to his dad, and the longer he kept that connection with his audience, the longer he would stay vital and alive." In 1989, Sinatra sang Wedding Vows in Vegas on the Was Not Was album What's Up Dog, and performed the song live with a band on Late Night with David Letterman on the 23rd of March 1989. During the 1997 to 1998 television season, Sinatra was offered the role of Vic Fontaine on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Despite being a fan of the show and finding the role interesting, he turned it down, declaring that he only wanted to play an alien. James Darren accepted the part, after refusing 3 times because he found that the idea of a vocalist playing a vocalist would be too on the nose, but changed his mind when he read the script. He had a guest spot playing himself on an episode of The Sopranos, The Happy Wanderer, 2000. in a role either mocking or acknowledging all the stories about his father's involvement with the mob. He lets Paulie Walnuts refer to him as chairboy of the board. Sinatra appeared in the show Family Guy Season 4, Episode 19, Brian Sings and Swings, wherein he was introduced as the member of the board. He performed several tunes during the show, accompanied by Stewie and Brian. During the credits, he sang the Family Guy theme song. He also recorded a commentary for its DVD release. He returned in the 2008 episode Tales of a Third Grade Nothing, Season 7, Episode 6, wherein he sang with Brian again, with Stewie returning as a sideline investor supporting the duo. A third episode featuring Sinatra, Bookie of the Year, Season 15, Episode 2, aired posthumously on the 2nd of October 2016 and was dedicated to his memory. This was his final appearance recorded. In 2006, Sinatra released the album That Face, including the songs You'll Never Know and the self-penned song Spice. Sinatra made a brief cameo appearance in the series premiere episode of the 2010 CBS legal comedy drama The Defenders, as well as the show's series finale. On the 17th of August 2015, Sinatra sang The Star-Spangled Banner at Yankee Stadium and sang the theme from New York, New York at the 2014 Belmont Stakes. Sinatra's song Black Knight, written and sung by him, was used as a theme song for Rick Alverson's feature film Entertainment in 2015, starring Greg Tuckington and John C. Reilly. Sinatra married Cynthia McMurray on the 18th of October 1998. They divorced on the 7th of January 2000. Sinatra underwent surgery for prostate cancer in January 2006. On the 16th of March 2016, the Sinatra family released a statement to the Associated Press that Sinatra had passed away unexpectedly of cardiac arrest while on tour in Daytona Beach, Florida, at the age of 72. Barry Keenan was born in 1940 and passed away on the 13th of November 2022 and was an American businessman best known as the mastermind behind the 1963 kidnapping of Frank Sinatra Jr. At the age of 21, Keenan was already successful in the business world, as well as being the youngest member of the Los Angeles Stock Exchange. Following a car accident, Keenan became penniless and addicted to painkillers and eventually hatched the kidnap for ransom scheme and enlisted others to help. Keenan, along with Johnny Irwin and Joe Amsler, conspired to kidnap Frank Sinatra Jr. Keenan had a psychiatric condition in which he heard voices, and felt that his plan was blessed by God, since he intended to eventually pay the money back and did not think the kidnapping was immoral. After successfully abducting Sinatra Jr. from Harrah's Lodge at South Lake Tahoe, Keenan made contact with Frank Sinatra Sr. to make ransom arrangements. Sinatra initially offered $1 million, $9.68 million today, but Keenan demanded significantly less, instead, $240,000, $2.32 million today. Despite the nature of the crime, Keenan felt that he was bringing the Sinatra family closer together and assisting the Sinatras in other intangible ways. Sinatra paid the ransom and the three men released his son. Within days, all three conspirators were apprehended by the FBI. Keenan was sentenced to life plus 75 years in prison for his crimes, but only served 4.5 years before he was released, on the grounds that he was legally insane at the time. After his release, Keenan became a successful real estate developer. The kidnapping was the basis for Stealing Sinatra, a Showtime movie released in 2003, starring David Arquette and William H. Macy. In March 2020, it was announced that Keenan would be played by Grant Gustin in Operation Blue Eyes, a biopic about the kidnapping. The film was to be directed by Joe Mangina. Keenan was interviewed about this affair by Ira Glass in a February 2002 episode of the WBEZ radio show This American Life, and then by Mike Lanchin in a January 2014 episode of the BBC Radio 4 series Witness. Sinatra was kidnapped at the age of 19 on the 8th of December 1963 at Harrah's Lake Tahoe, room 417. He was released 2 days later after his father paid the $240,000 ransom. In an interview with Ira Glass, Barry Keenan said that he initially intended to earn back the ransom money over years and pay it back to Frank Sr. Keenan, Johnny Irwin and Joe Amsler were soon captured, prosecuted for kidnapping, convicted and sentenced to long prison terms, of which they served only small portions. Mastermind Keenan was later judged to have been legally insane at the time of the crime and hence not legally responsible for his own actions. Famed attorney Gladys Root represented Irwin. The kidnappers demanded that all communications be conducted by payphone. During these conversations, Frank Sr. became concerned that he would not have enough coins, which prompted him to carry 10 dimes with him at all times for the rest of his life. He was even buried with 10 dimes in his pocket. At the time of the kidnapping, Frank Sr. and the Rat Pack were filming Robin and the Seven Hoods. The stress of the kidnapping, in addition to the assassination of Sinatra's close friend, John F. Kennedy, just a few weeks prior to the kidnapping, caused Sinatra to seriously consider shutting down production, although the film was ultimately completed. The pair decided to strike on the evening of the 8th of December 1963, just days after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Sinatra Jr., just beginning his career in music, was performing at Harrah's Club Lodge in Lake Tahoe on the border of California and Nevada. Around 9 p.m, he was resting in his dressing room with a friend when Keenan knocked on the door pretending to be delivering a package. Keenan and Amsler entered, tied up Sinatra's friend with tape and blindfolded their victim. They took him out a side door to their waiting car. The singer's friend quickly freed himself and notified authorities. Roadblocks were set up and the kidnappers were actually stopped by police, but they bluffed their way through and drove onto their hideout in the suburb of Los Angeles. By 9:40, the FBI office in Reno was brought in on the case. Agents met with Sinatra's father in Reno and his mother in Bel Air, California. The motive was presumed to be money. The FBI recommended that Sinatra wait for a ransom demand, pay it, and then allow the Bureau to track the money and find the kidnappers. The following evening, Keenan called a third conspirator, John Irwin, who was to be the ransom contact. Irwin called Sinatra Sr. and told him to await the kidnappers' instructions. On the 10th of December, he passed along the demand for $240,000 in ransom. Sinatra Sr. gathered the money and gave it to the FBI, which photographed it all and made the drop per Keenan's instructions between the two school buses in Sepulveda, California, during the early morning hours of the 11th of December. While Keenan and Amsler picked up the money, Irwin had gotten nervous and decided to free the victim. Sinatra Jr. was found in Bel Air after walking a few miles and alerting a security guard. To avoid the press, he was put in the trunk of a guard's patrol car and taken to his mother Nancy's home. Sinatra Jr. described what he knew to the FBI agents, but he had barely seen the two of the kidnappers and only heard the voice of the third conspirator. Still, the Bureau tracked the clues back to the house where Sinatra had been held in Canoga Park and gathered even more evidence there. Meanwhile, with the FBI's progress being recounted in the press, Irwin broke first, spilling the beans to his brother, who called the FBI office in San Diego. Hours later, Keenan and Amsler were captured and nearly all of the ransom money was recovered. Although the defense tried to argue that Frank Sinatra Jr. had engineered the kidnapping as a publicity stunt, the FBI had strong evidence to the contrary. The clincher was a confession letter written earlier by Keenan and left in a safety deposit box. In the end, Keenan, Amsler and Irwin were all convicted.